The Boston Celtics have the entire NBA tricked. They are by far the better team in this series, and they've led for 89% of the total minutes played in this series, and yet still trail 2-1. They have been up by 20 points at one point in all 3 games and have won 10 of the 12 quarters played so far, yet they are still down 2-1, but I still got the Celtics in 6. They proved yesterday that if they are locked in, if they are sharp for the full game, the Knicks aren't even in the same arena as them when it comes to talent. Even without a healthy Porzingis, when they get guys stepping up off the bench, like Pritchard, when Al Horford's doing his thing. They've also run some really nice sets as of late that I don't see the Knicks having an answer for. For Boston, it all starts with number 0, Jayson Tatum. He set the tone early. Yes, he missed the layup here, but getting out in passing lanes. Finished with 22 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 steals in 40 minutes last night, where he was pretty good. He exposed Karl-Anthony Towns, and he was somewhat efficient. 8 for 20 from the field, not great, but 5 for 9 from beyond the three-point line. And like we said, he exposed Karl Towns in this series. Like, watch, Cat, that is terrible right there. That is so far in drop coverage. That is being lazy, and Tatum just knocks down the 3 over him. He got lazy because Tatum hadn't been knocking down his 3s, and then now he's starting to hit from Yucatan, and Karl Towns is still at the top of the free throw line as OG's working his butt off trying to get around this screen. That is really bad from Karl-Anthony Towns, and the Knicks really have no adjustment to make other than continue to watch Karl Towns get 3s rained in on top of his head, because I can tell you, the Celtics are not going to keep shooting 25 for 100 from beyond the arc. It's going to be more like 37 to 40 for 100 from beyond the arc. So the adjustment, I guess, would be Mitchell Robinson, and even still then, Jayson Tatum is knocking it down over these guys. Now, it hasn't been all great, though, for Tatum. Versus the Magic, he went off. 31.3 points a game, 11.3 rebounds, and 5.5 assists per game in 4 games played in that series. Remember, he did miss a game. Versus the Knicks, he's only averaging 19 and 13 with 6 assists in 2 more minutes per game. And the big reason there is the efficiency. It just has not been the same. He hasn't been able to hit shots against the Knicks, where versus the Magic, he shot 45% from the field, 36% from 3 on 9 attempts. It was great. Versus the Knicks, 32% from the field and 35% from 3. 32% from the field is ridiculously bad for a superstar caliber player. And even with him not being able to shoot the ball, they've still had a 20-point lead in the third quarter of every single game in this series. That's how dominant they've been. Now, their offense didn't go stagnant last night in the third quarter like it did in games 1 and 2, and shout out to Joe Mazzulla for that, because he has had some elite play calling, and they got them all night long with this little stagger screen at the top of the key where Porzingis sets the first one, followed by a Tatum screen, and OG and Mitchell Robinson just don't communicate. They expose the Knicks bigs with this because OG here is just showing hard and then recovering to Tatum, while Mitchell Robinson thinks they're switching and he's dropping with Kristaps Porzingis. What this leads to is a wide open Peyton Pritchard 3, which gets a big time night for Pritchard started. And then once again, you have the same exact set right here with Tatum coming off the stagger. You got 2 really good shooters in the corners, and you're going to expose Mitchell Robinson because he's going to drop with Porzingis. Drew's going to pop to the open spot. Jalen Brunson thinks they're switching. McCall thinks Brunson's just hedging, and then you leave a really good 3-point shooter in Drew Holiday wide open for 3. And then we looked at this play earlier where Karl Towns is anticipating the same exact stagger screen at the top of the key happening. So he's just going to sit back and be lazy. And then after he comes off the first screen, before he can get to the second screen, Tatum's just going to pull up for 3 and take full advantage of this. This is bad right here from Karl Towns. They've got to figure something out. But again, like I said, I don't think there's an adjustment for the Knicks to make other than maybe going small. But then the Celtics can kill you with their 2 big lineup, which we'll talk about here in a second. You've got Peyton Pritchard here, and this time the Knicks actually cover it up very well. Bridges, recovers, forces a tough shot, but what this also creates is a lot of mismatches, and now you have Josh Hart trying to box out Al Horford, and yes, Josh Hart, best sub 6'6" rebounder in the league, but that's still a mismatch, even a 38-year-old Al Horford. Now, the 2 big lineup, I like this as well, because you can get into multiple counters for what New York likes to run with Mitchell Robinson and Karl-Anthony Towns, and they found success with that early, but Porzingis and Cornette, or Horford and Porzingis, however you want to run it, they've found success with this 2 big lineup as well. And as you you see here, the little slip on the screen here, Derek White finds him, Mitchell Robinson's going to step up, and he just drops it off to Cornette for the easy dunk. I also like this right here, where they run Drew Holiday in the short pick and roll and let him be a playmaker. On the season, he averaged 4 assists per game in 30.6 minutes per game, and as you can see right here, they let him be the playmaker early in this action. The other 6 guys on the court are still, above the 3-point line. So this is essentially 2-on-2 early in transition. You get Drew into a little slip action where he's going to be the playmaker early, finds Derek White in the corner, and 9 times out of 10, that shot is going in. Derek White is great off the catch and shoot from the corner. Love to see the Jays pick and roll as well, where you get 2 All-NBA wings and have them play a 2-man game at the top of the key with everybody else flattened out. This time they're going to get the mismatch with Karl Towns trying to guard Jayson Tatum. And again, 9 times out of 10, that's going to work out in the Celtics' favor. Now we got to talk about Peyton Pritchard, who had a really good night last night. We talked about this being the Kickstarter for the whole thing. He had 23 points, 4 assists, 2 rebounds, a steal in 34 minutes. So a really solid night. He played a lot of minutes last night compared to what he had been playing this series. And coming into game 3, he was really the only Celtic that had been somewhat efficient or somewhat their normal self in this series, knocking down threes right here, beating the rotation of the Knicks and knocking it down. 8 of 16 from the field, 5 of 10 from 3 for Peyton Pritchard last night. And I know right here, when he sees this matchup with Mitchell Robinson, he is licking his chops all day long because he puts this man in the blender. And whew, that's a tough shot right there from Peyton Pritchard. Extremely skilled off the bench, coming in, finding ways to make an impact on this game. And then, once he gets this, once he's got 20, if he's getting an open 3 in transition, that thing is going down. The Celtics are 8-0. When Pritchard scores 25 or more points, and 9-1 when he scores 23 or more. And this, man, what a tough shot here at the end of the shot clock to kind of silence a New York run. Jaylen Brunson was pretty solid as well. Jaylen Brown, wrong JB, had 19 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block. Really solid night for him. Now, the efficiency wasn't great, but he did what he had to do, did the dirty work down low. And again, it doesn't always have to be pretty. When you're up 20, you kind of don't complain about things, and you just move on to game 4 and look to take care of business and take back home court. 7 of 18 from the field, 2 of 6 from beyond the arc from Jaylen Brown. He had a pretty good game 2, though, so we give him the benefit of the doubt. Derek White, he kind of checked in last night, hit a couple of big shots. I'm still waiting for the Derek White game this series. I'm going to guess it's either going to be game 5 or game 6. I don't know if he has it in him here for game 4. Drew Holiday was pretty solid as well. He's just always a really solid role player for him, knocking down threes, doing the little things. Like I said, I love him as a playmaker in the short pick and roll. And then now Horford, even at 87 years old, is still out there getting buckets for the Celtics. And even in transition, look at the high flyer, the elite athleticism, knocking down threes, doing the dirty work, getting blocks still, like we said, even at his ancient age, getting blocks. And then we got to talk about Tingus Pingus, man. Like 19 minutes last night, 0 points, 0 of 3 from the field, 0 of 2 from beyond the arc. More minutes per game than he was getting this whole series. So maybe the mysterious illness is gone, but he's still only playing 15 minutes a game, 4.3 points, 4 rebounds, and a block per game. He was only playing 12 minutes per game coming into this game, which was game 3. And we got to get something figured out because they probably don't need him to beat the Knicks. Surely it would help, but they are going to need him going forward. And he has got to be healthy. It seems like a yearly occurrence for this man. Now, that being said, that's going to be it for today's video. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to hit the like button. Leave me a comment down below and hit that subscribe button if you did enjoy at any point. We're looking for 300 likes on today's video. And with that being said, thanks so much for watching today's video.